Hey, real estate professionals, welcome to another episode of the Optimize Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Rod Wilson. And on this podcast, it's my job to interview the movers and shakers of real estate and to pull out their top secrets, ideas, and strategies to help you optimize your own business. And on this episode, this is an amazing one, actually. And it's something I've been wanting to talk with my guest, Josh Miller, about. He is a marketing expert. In fact, he's a data scientist and just really taken, kind of that prior life and applied it to real estate. And he has a marketing company, goforclose.com, which I encourage everyone to check out. Basically does all your marketing and kind of focuses on finding deals. And what we talk about today, I was looking for one of the quotes he had made on that first podcast, which he basically said, we as real estate investors, developers, in my case, lenders, have about a year to figure out AI. And we know AI is coming. There's a lot related to AI that good and bad, I think, my personal opinion. It's not all great, but you're going to have to acknowledge it, figure it out, and most likely apply it to your business. And so with this particular episode, we get into it with Josh and focus a little bit more on AI than we did in the first one. So you're going to enjoy it. He actually throws out a bunch of, in fact, in the show notes, I am going to include one of the prompts, a prompt creator, I should say. It's not just a prompt, but it's how to create prompts. I'm going to put that in the show notes, but he shares some new sites and new tools and apps that can be used within ChatGPT and also some of the newer, I guess, ChatGPT wannabes. So anyway, it's a great podcast. I think it's worth your time. And if anything, it'll kind of get your wheels turning on, where this crazy world of artificial intelligence is going, at least related to real estate. So that's it for now. Enjoy. Hey, Josh, how you doing?
What's up, Rod? Nice to see you again.
Good seeing you again. Thanks for jumping on. And as always, I'm really looking forward to this. This is a topic that I think everybody's kind of scratching their head. I think if you've been around AI, seen AI, use ChatGPT, I mean, it's obvious to see that, there's some major, some game-changing things going on to, related to AI. The big question is like, number one, how do you utilize it? Are there issues, security issues, or is it, some of it's a little scary on how amazing it is. So anyway, for the purpose of this, I just thought I'd kind of pick your brain a little bit. As far as the listeners go, I mean, I think a lot of people are like me. It's like, where I know this is, going to be a game changer, and how and where do I use it for real estate?
Shoot, that's a lot to cover. But let's just jump in. I think it might be helpful just to give a big overarching view, because AI has been talked about a lot in real estate. I remember a few years back, one of the companies came out with AI data, and they said, hey, this data we use AI to figure out and predict what properties are going to be sold. And it was true. They were using a lot of machine learning, which is a type of AI, you could say, to predict what properties are getting sold. My opinion, none of it was that good, and we can go into why it was. Then I think really the big shift for everything happened last November of 2022. OpenAI came out with ChatGPT and essentially said, hey, we're changing the game here. And since that time, things have just been on a roller coaster. I mean, a rocket ship. It's been incredible. I used to be able to keep up with all of the new software and tools that have been coming out and being available for people like myself that are in the marketing full time. But it's just too much. There's too many softwares coming out. And the reason for it is OpenAI and a number of others came up with essentially a language learning model that you can tap into and build your own tools and software. And so now there are literally tens of thousands of softwares available to utilize AI in specific manner. So it's I actually have a full-time person on my team that all they're doing is going and researching these new companies that are coming out. And what's crazy is they have to go back because things are progressing so fast. What once was horrible, now they've came out with version 2 and it's even better. And so you might, like right now, Google Bard, which is like the ChatGPT version, is horrible, but they continuously come out with releases, and soon that might be better than ChatGPT. Or I told you offline about Claude, which is CLAUDE.ai. That's far superior to ChatGPT for business purposes. and most folks have not heard about it, aren't using it. And so, yeah, it's a full-time job just to try to keep up with all the amazing things. So really at the heart of it is, will AI take over all current marketing channels that most real estate investors are doing? Absolutely. Whether it's in 18 months or 12 months or 6 months, I'm not sure. I can tell you within my own company, we have replaced around 80% of our staff utilizing AI. And so, maybe we're still doing a lot of the same things, but it's made us incredibly more efficient. And the trick now is, in the past, in real estate investors, entrepreneurs, we'd have an idea and we'd say, hey, I have this really cool thing I want to create. And so if you wanted to go create that, you may have had to go hire a developer team, and it would be like a year to go and create this project. Now you come up with an idea, and likely it already exists, or there's a tool to create it easily in a matter of weeks instead of years. And instead of needing a developer team, you really just need somebody to tap in to that existing product and say, hey, this is what I want it to do. So I created a website called Vision Hub. And the whole idea of it is, I want real estate investors to come to me and say, I've got a brilliant idea and I'll build it for you, because I know it won't take much work, and we can create some truly incredible, amazing things together. Because that's really what it comes down to now, is how creative can you be? What good ideas do you have? What struggles do you have in your business today where hey, I can automate it, I can make it more efficient, I can make whatever's in my head, I can actually make it happen. And that's what's going to move the needle. So it's exciting.
My head's exploding now, because we've just accelerated everything. It seems like, since you said in November, I don't know what, 10-fold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold, whatever that number is. I mean, to go, just the one stat is just crazy. I mean, eliminating 80% of your staff, in that short a period of time is just, you've never been able to do that. So I guess, where do we go from there? Obviously my audience is real estate, investors and developers. Inventories are tight. Everyone's looking for deals. Some do a little bit of marketing. Some do a lot of marketing. Obviously we got the whole wholesale community that does focused on the sales and marketing front end. Let's just say you're kind of that in the middle. You do a little bit of, either driving for dollars, direct mail or whatever. You've got some admins. You've got some couple acquisition folks. You do maybe a couple deals a month. I mean, just to give you a little bit of a profile to work within, because I know that there's huge ranges as far as what people do to go find deals. We talked about this before, we were thinking about it. What's the low-hanging fruit? What's a starting point, and what do you think has the most, I guess, bang for the buck, or bang for the time spent related to AI?
Great question. And as you just said that, what immediately came to my mind was, the gold is in the niches, and that's never going to change. And I think more than ever, it is going to be about specifically touching on the pain points or the problems that your ideal customer has. And I think more than ever, we need to, and this is the beautiful thing about AI, is in the past, if we were running 2 Facebook ads centered around, let's say, a distressed absentee owner and a distressed homeowner, those were our 2 ads. Now we can create thousands of unique ads specifically towards each individual's pain point, whatever it might be. And so what I would encourage every single real estate investor listening to this is to really try to understand, what is my customer's pain point? Where can I serve them? So if they're a developer and you're building ground up, okay, I'm looking for lot sizes of this amount in these specific areas, whatever it might be, and creating messages around that. And now you can utilize AI to find those people much easier than in the past. So not only will the message speak to them, but you can actually identify them. I can't say who it is, but if you're in California, you're familiar with AB 9, AB 10. It is something that came out that said, essentially, and I'm going to get it wrong because I'm not a professional in this, but essentially in California, they got away with any zoning regulations around building land in your backyard. You can now essentially build a residential property if the lot size permits it. So in the past, you would need to get city permission, county permission, whatever. Now you can say, hey, if your lot size is big enough, California will allow you to build a residential property in your backyard. And so what we can now do utilizing AI is find every lot size. So somebody has a corner lot, somebody has a large enough backyard, we can approach that owner and say, hey, let's go ahead and sell us your portion of that backyard. We can give you some cash up front, et cetera. The point being, the AI was what allowed us to specifically target those homeowners that had the sized lot. And so I know that's really, really niche, but that's the whole point of it, is now we can approach just the people that need to hear our message, and we can find the right owners. So another example of this was we developed some AI technology to eliminate driving for dollars. So in the past, anyone's not familiar with driving for dollars, you would hire a team, or you yourself would drive up and down streets and you'd look for distressed looking properties. And you'd say, that property looks distressed. You would write down the address, and then you would then mail that person or call that homeowner and say, hey, you know, your house, you wouldn't say your house looks like shit, but you would say, hey, are you interested in selling your property?
Yeah.
We did was we uploaded every single Google Street View image in the entire country, and we checked the date of when that image was taken, and provided that the home hadn't been sold since then. We know they haven't been making it better. And so we identified every single distressed looking property, and we can now just add that to our model and say, hey, that's a distressed looking property. And so we can market to them. So that just eliminated, driving for dollars as we know it. But it's okay. But how much more powerful would it be if you know your local market and you're looking for specific things? How crazy could it be that you could now easily identify, if you're looking for, I'm making this up, but a blue tarp over the roof, or if you're looking for a specific thing,
right,
you can now scan all 2 million properties in your county and instantaneously know exactly who you're targeting, because they have that specific pain point that you can solve.
So I know this is moving quick. So back to that scenario, and when I say moving quick, the technology is moving so quick. I'm sure you'll maybe do this differently in a month or 2 or 6 or whatever. But when you say you're downloading like the front view off of Google, are you asking AI to go do that, or are you got to do that first and then give that to AI, and then they figure out which ones look vacant or distressed or in need of repair?
Yeah. So great question. So for this specific model, and every AI model will work a little bit differently. With this one, we simply identified what a good looking property was, and we trained it with a few thousand photos. We said, this is a good looking house. Then we gave it a few thousand bad looking houses, and we said, this is a bad looking house. And then from then on, you load in another property or 100,000 other properties, it gives you a percentage, and it says, we are 99% confident this is a bad looking property. So you don't train it on, hey, this has tall grass, or hey, this fence is broken, or hey, this window's boarded up. You don't train it on anything specific. You just show it images and you say, this is good, this is bad. And that's how we trained our model on how to identify a good looking versus a bad looking property.
And then do you somehow, once you get that, I'm just curious, is it just the typical skip trace, direct mail, the more of the traditional marketing, or is there more to that as far as using AI to actually make contact?
So that's going really into the weeds, but we score all of our data. So that's how we're able to essentially figure out who to target and who not to. Because at the end of the day, there's actually going to be too many properties to market to, and every person's got a limited budget. So if you've only got $1, who should you spend that $1 on? So that will go just into our scoring of every property to help us figure out who to market to. But to answer your question, yeah, from there, it depends on who we're working with. Each marketing channel, direct mail, cold calling, YouTube ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, they've all got their pros and cons. And so this is not AI related at all. But I think one of the common challenges real estate investors face is they listen to a coach, or they listen to somebody they highly respect, or a friend, and they say, oh my God, Google Ads is just killing it. It is the best thing on earth. I love it. And they try it and it doesn't work. And they're like confused. And what I've learned over the last, I don't know, however many years, there's nothing more local than real estate investing. And as far as the marketing goes, what works in one market absolutely won't work in another market. Not only the broad thing about the Google, like the channels, say using Google Ads, but also to the specific of what words you say.
Right.
So that's one reason. And then another reason is oftentimes people's budgets are different. And so what works for one guy, because maybe he has a larger budget, will not work at all for another person because they have a smaller budget. So I know we're not talking about AI, but worth mentioning as to why we might do one type of marketing with the knowledge we gain from that driving for dollars. Yeah.
Yeah. And going back, you mentioned Vision Hub. So everybody go check out Vision Hub if you have an idea and want to, build something around that, right?
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that again. I am more excited than ever. Like the possibilities. And the coolest part about it is I'm 99% sure I'm not going to come up with the idea. I'm not going to come up with the idea that's going to revolutionize and change the space. But somebody within my network will. And my goal is that they'll approach me and say, hey, let's try this out. I've tried so many things out already. I mean, it's only been probably 6 months of me heavily invested in trying out ideas. And most of them haven't worked. But
I got one for you, which we can talk later.
All right.
And then the other thing, I want to make sure everyone goes to goforclose.com. Obviously, the many people I've talked to, I mean, Josh is an absolute rock star on the marketing side and data. And just, again, going back to what's the biggest challenge for most people right now is just, tight inventories, getting enough deal flow to support their business. And I think that's where you come in a big way.
Thank you for mentioning Go for Close. I mean, that is what the heart of what we do. And all this AI, that's what feeds into Go for Close, is to try and make our marketing better using the AI specifically around marketing. So I was going to mention a few other ways we're utilizing AI, if that's all right.
That'd be great.
Unfortunately, a lot of these things seem very easy to me because I have the information, but none of these are impossible for anyone to do on their own. None of these items took teams of developers to create. It's literally just finding the right software to plug into and being able to, load in thousands of photos from Google Street, for example. Like, how do you do that? We didn't recreate the wheel here. There is a wheel existing of loading Google Street views in, and it's just connecting the dots. So anyways, one of the other ones we tried out was really changing up our direct mail. And one of the ways we did that was to better match each direct mail piece to the person we're targeting. And so there's a number of ways we did it. And I'm not sure yet which one's going to be the game changer. And perhaps none of them are. And they all just incrementally help us a little bit. So some of these examples are, we add on the consumer data for each individual property owner. So for each property owner, we have their age, we have their demographics, we have their ethnicity, we have their religion. And of course, we have the reason we're reaching out to them to begin with. Are they going through a divorce? Are they going through a bankruptcy? Do they have a tax delinquency? Are they just an absentee owner, et cetera? So what we're trying to do now is match the letter that we're sending to the person. So some easy examples are, if we're talking to an elderly person, we want the font to be as large as possible. We want the photo on the letter to be matching with the person we're reaching out to. So if they're in their 70 plus, we don't want a young 20-year-old on the photo. We want somebody that they would better relate with. Ethnicity as well. We're going to try to mirror that homeowner so that it better matches them on that letter.
Is AI telling you that, or do you need to know that?
So we need to know that, but the way we're using the AI now is, in the past, it would have had to be, you could have done this without AI. You could have pulled the consumer data and then said, okay, this property address at 123 Main Street, this is owned by a 90-year-old woman. There's plenty of data softwares out there. Property Radar is one that I love, and that has the consumer data on each individual. What's different though now is we can utilize AI tools that are out there to automatically, dynamically change up the direct mail piece. So everything would have been and still is doable manually, one by one, of saying, okay, pull the Excel sheet, look at it. Okay, this guy's 90. Let's draft a direct mail piece to closely resemble. Now we just feed the data into our AI engine and we say, here's what we know about this individual. And this is done, 100,000 times a day. Here's what we know about this individual. Create the perfect letter to talk to that homeowner to get them to respond to me. That's all we give. So we don't tell them, hey, match up the photo, we don't tell it any of that stuff. That's what's crazy about this is we don't have to be that smart. We just have to tell it our end objective and it figures out the rest.
Well, and the thing that we talked about before we started recording was just little things like when you're talking to it, you really need to be descriptive, I guess, but little add-ons like what's the high, make it the highest probability that they'll open it. Don't come up with a headline and whatever. I don't know what else you would say, but come up with a headline. So, but then adding that little bit, it'll go and essentially look at all the data and say, well, they're going to be more apt to look at this subject line, this type of envelope, whatever the case may be, depending on the, the marketing channel. So those are the things that in just kind of talking to and listening to other folks, you literally just talk as much as you can about what you're trying to achieve and let it go to work, right?
Yeah. And I have a really, really great prompt and I don't know how you could get that. I don't know if you can put this in your show notes or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll send it over to you. And I wish I could claim it, but I can't. This is an incredible prompt, but it says, I'll read the start of it. And this is if you're using ChatGPT or Broad or whatever AI tool you're using. It says, I want you to become my prompt creator. Your goal is to help me craft the best possible prompt for my needs. The prompt will be used by you, blah, 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 blah. And there it goes.
Wow.
And that is by far the best prompt I've ever found, because essentially you're saying, I'm not smart enough to ask the best questions. Go ahead and ask the best questions to create the best prompt. Then you take that prompt and you plug it into whatever problem you're trying to solve. That simple prompt there's been a real game changer.
That's just incredible. It makes total sense though.
I'm sending that to you now just so I don't forget.
There we go. That will be in the show notes for sure. So you mentioned something before that just really stuck in my mind is you predict what properties, kind of, again, the low-hanging fruit, you're predicting what properties would most likely be either a distressed sale or something you can get under market value. Can you share any more on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's an easy one. I think that's probably one of the lowest hanging fruits out there. Is I love PropStream and Property Radar and all of these really great tools to get mass amount of data easily at your fingertips to predict who's most likely to sell. So they're 10 out of 10. The problem with them is that because they're so cheap and so awesome, everybody and their mother is using them. And so the challenge is really, how do I either get to that data before these big software companies get to them and everybody has access to them, or how do I get access to data to distressed homeowners that these big software companies are not touching? And so that's where going direct to county websites really help a lot. And in the past, you would need to hire a VA or you yourself go in and try to find this data and extract it and then move it to the right place to do whatever it is you want with it. Now there's tons of tools out there. Probably one of the easier ones to use is one called browse.ai that you don't need any programming knowledge. You literally can just say, okay, here's what I want to do. And you very basic show it what you're trying to do. And it will create all the code to extract that unique data set from those county websites. There's other, even ChatGPT, you can go in and you can say, here's the website, extract the data with the right plugins.
You could feed in a county website and say, this is what I'm looking for. And can it come out with all that data, or is that a little
with
tricky?
Browse.ai, you can. With ChatGPT, they used to, but funny enough, it would, this is totally going off tangent, but I think it's a funny story. So ChatGPT enabled plugins to go browse the web, and users were asking it for stuff. And it was so smart, it found some of the information on behind firewalls. So basically behind sites that you need to pay to access. Because what it was doing is it was like, oh, I think the data is like in this guy's paid site, but I can't access it. Let me try to guess the password. And it was like trying thousands of times, guessing the right password, going in and getting the data and then giving it to the user.
That's incredible.
So ChatGPT had to say, okay, we need to put some more stuff in here to prevent that kind of stuff from happening. So kind of funny. So at the moment, some of these plugins that were available to do what I was just describing, such as, hey, there's some great data on this website, go get it. It was doing it. I think right now for a little bit, it's paused until they can figure it out. But Browse.ai is still available. So the best data that you can go get is going to be, of course, related to a niche that you're already in. So if you know, hey, I really based on my past experience, I've really seemed to get a lot of probate deals or a lot of inherited deals. Well, this is a sad topic, but there's deceased records that are published daily. And so it's very easy to pull that deceased data, check it against county records, see if they owned a property, and voila, you've got data before it hits probate, before you've got inherited. So that's just a prime example of going in and using some basic AI tools to do what you need.
And you would use, in that case, the scenario you just mentioned is you use Browse AI, or would you use Chat GPT or Claude or something else?
Yeah, use Browse.ai until ChatGPT lets us browse the internet again. It's just temporarily paused.
Got it. Probably for good reason. That's pretty crazy.
It's moving really fast.
That's obviously the worry of most. In fact, there's a lot of corporations, Anchor being one of them, but that have basically just won't even allow anyone internally to use AI because of things like that.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately just a really, really, really wrong misnomer about it. So ChatGPT, Claude, a number of these other ones are all essentially, you're right. Like whatever information you feed into it, it's not private. If you load in an Excel sheet with all of your customer information, they're absolutely right. What these are language learning models, and there are open source, meaning you can go and you can build your own that is just as good, and it's 100% private. You can, if you want, you don't even have to connect it to the web. You could have a server and it's literally just sitting on your server, and you can feed it all the questions and it knows everything. And to build that, it's like, I think it's $20 to build out your own language learning model. And so this is where I think there's still a lot of education to be had, where people think, okay, everything I feed this AI is all public. In fact, it's not. You can build your own and make everything still private. Real easy. Sorry, I just got off a call with somebody who had that same concern, and yeah, your information can be absolutely private.
So I have to ask, so building your own $20, how would that work?
The most basic of it, there are a number of language learning models that are accessible, open source. So Facebook, for example, they came up with their own that's said, look, we have built the most incredible like ChatGPT equivalent, but instead of you just feeding us information, we will make this open source, meaning anyone can get this code, put it on their own computer, and run it on their own servers. So that's essentially what open source means. And
gotcha.
it doesn't take crazy developer. Pretty much anyone could go and with a simple YouTube video, maybe half a day of learning, figure out how to do this on their own.
Okay. And then I guess back to your business and go for close. And, kind of our goal here is just to generate, more deals, more, leads and be more efficient. Would you suggest people just, come to you? Can you be doing something chat GPT or using browse AI? I mean, what would be a recommendation just for someone who just wanted to start, kind of kicking the tires and trying this out? And most people have their own sources, right? Their own sources of leads, and they're just all over the map from our customer base. I'm just curious, like still with all this, you can kind of see the future a little bit, but then it's like, what's the starting point?
Yeah. I mean, the starting point, unfortunately, is not super sexy and glamorous. It is literally just diving in as many times a week as you can and playing around with it, because that will make you familiar and that will get your brain kicking and keep your eyes open for opportunities. So my suggestion, just to start, like, and everybody can do this, is download, or you don't even download, just go to claude.ai and start using it. And what I've instructed my team is not allowed to do anything without first plugging it in and seeing if there's anything they haven't thought of, seeing if there's a better way to do it, and just the exercise of using it as often and frequently as possible, just to get in the habit of it. Even when you know the answer, still just get in the habit of doing it. So I think that's number one, is just get in the habit of using it. Number two, I would keep exploring. I mean, I have a full-time person, but you don't need a full-time person. Just once a week, go look. What is new? What's exciting? What has changed in our space? And, maybe nothing for the next couple of weeks, but sooner than later, you're going to see some crazy improvements. And then third is, I think the data is super easy for anyone to do on their own, just to enrich, to enhance any existing data they're already pulling, to really just start looking at where there's some niche data and trying to pull and extract that information. So that's an easy no-brainer everyone can start doing. And then, of course, if you really want to jump ahead, find a company like mine, like Go for Close, and start utilizing companies that are utilizing AI as part of their core business.
No, that's good advice. Everyone's got their own way of doing this business and finding deals. And it's basically just take whatever you're doing today and just start kind of playing with it and seeing if you can get better, cheaper, quicker data and get to those leads quicker. Which I have a guy that came to me and he's doing primarily foreclosure, either foreclosure or pre-foreclosure. And again, this is just going back to like the actionable, what do I do? Because would you basically go to a Claude and just say, I'm in this city, I'm looking for, have them go to public record essentially and find a list, I don't know, once a week, once a month, all the properties that have now gone into foreclosure? Is it that simple?
Yeah, depending on where you're at, what is the first thing that happens? Maybe it's a notice of default, whatever that might be.
Exactly.
And then figuring out where that notice of default is filed. And I guarantee you're going to be the first person to get notified of that notice of default. So you can now very easily plug something like, use even Zapier as a perfect example, go to whatever, like browse.ai, plug it into Zapier, then have it, text somebody to go door knock, something as simple as that. And that is something that any person can build out on their own, because we're not talking about software developer now. We're just talking about very easy to use programs. Zapier, anybody can use. There's browse.ai, anybody can use, and you can have it just text your guy, and now you can go door knock that notice of default. And, so that's super simple. And that's all this is doing is that you said exactly right. It's taking what you're already doing and just making it more efficient, improving what you're already doing.
So that description you just gave us, is that what you guys would do for a client that's, I guess number one, it has to be enough foreclosures. And you said on the first podcast we did that you can't there's not some blanket way to go find leads and find deals. It kind of depends on your market, what you're looking for and all that. But assuming it's a good way to find deals, would you guys basically do what you just said?
Yep. So what we do is we provide, like, notice of default, for example. We would score everybody. We would put this guy on a door knocking list and we say, hey, we don't expect you to, but if you do want to go door knock, here's the top 10 people I would door knock this week. Hey, here's the top people I would recommend you you go call. Hey, here's who we are calling. Here is who we are direct mailing. And that's the key, is trying to be as specific as you can with your marketing, and then also being first. And that's how AI is really helping us do both. Be faster, be first, and be very specific with our targeting.
That's amazing. I'm thinking we almost have to make this a series and just keep,
Well, that's
updating.
the thing. It's going to change. And I feel like that's what's really cool about how fast it all is changing, is everything I'm saying right now might sound like history, like useless compared to what's going to be coming out next. And I'm excited. Like, I haven't loved Facebook ads for a long time. Facebook ads, for the most part, have been kind of crappy leads for the last few years, but we're figuring out ways to utilize AI to make that work again and make that powerful and make it high quality. So there's going to be continual updates, and yeah, let's definitely touch base again and see where we're at.
No, I appreciate it. Very good info and super interesting. And I'm not going to lie, a little bit scary, like where this is all going. But yeah, I appreciate the time, Josh. And everybody go check out goforclose.com, and then the Vision Hub if you have an idea. Obviously, talking in the kind of real estate space, but if you have an idea, feel free to reach out to Josh.
Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah, I should have been clear with that. I don't want any ideas. If you have an idea related to single family properties or land development, just specifically around real estate, and you have an idea that you think will change the game, I want to hear it. I'll build it for you for free, and we'll all benefit from it. So that's the idea.
Very cool.
Cool.
Well, thanks for that, Josh. Thanks for the time. And until next time.
Sounds great. All right. Talk soon.
Talk to you later.